All right, we are live on Facebook and we are recording. I'm John Mercer, president of Las Vegas Tri Club and also professor at UNLV. And I'm here with Ted Girouard, an ambassador of Las Vegas Triathlon Club and also faculty at UNLV and director of the Athletic Training Education Program. Hey, Ted, how's it going?
Good. Yeah, super good. It's nice to see you again. It seems like a regular occurrence on a Friday night these days for us to have a good chat.
That's right, and getting ready for the weekend training session. So this is always a fun way to wrap up Friday and then get ready for Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah. Super excited this week. I didn't tell you, actually, you probably know, but I got to sign up for a race this week, which was kind of exciting.
Where?
Well, you know, we got transferred for the World Championship to St. George.
Okay, good.
So I actually pulled the trigger. I think we had to just decide between St. George or Taupo in 2022. And I opted to sign up for that race. So it's been a long time since I actually signed up for a race. It felt kind of good.
Oh, how cool. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are in for St. George then.
For 2021, yes.
Excellent. Okay, yeah. Then, well, we still got to try to get to New Zealand for 2022.
Well, yeah, I figure now I got a year to qualify after that.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of excited about that. And then I actually found out this week too that so the ITU race, the World Championship, got canceled as well. It was going to be in Edmonton next weekend. We just got notification that we're going to be able to transfer to Bermuda.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Bermuda. Right.
Next year. So
okay.
I'm kind of excited. It's been a pretty good week as far as racing for next year.
Yeah, that's right.
So
well,
yeah.
this has been a hard time, but you know, we can still go to different places and train. And I know that's what you did recently. And I'm really interested in this discussion because I need to learn a little bit more because we've talked before. I'm a creature of habit. And I, have routes that I do, and I pretty much do them the same routes day in, day out. And that's not necessarily a good thing, but it's a good thing also when I'm training locally. But when we go out and we travel, boy, it's nice to know where to go because how many times have we been out and then you just end up on a bad route and it could be dangerous from traffic or just road conditions aren't good. And that's frustrating when you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you don't feel safe. And that's, that's kind of the name of the game is to feel safe. And even it can feel not safe if you get onto a road with no traffic, but the surface is just horrible.
Yeah.
Full of potholes or whatever. And that does happen from time to time, but I think that safety is paramount when you're out, especially places you don't know that well. Yeah.
Well, and now we have some wonderful tools available to us to be able to check out where to train. Now, I remember back in 89, okay, here's my old man story. I was living in New York and I decided to travel across the states and race and train. And at that point, I had to print up things like where pools were so I could figure out where to go, or I didn't even look at where to, bike. All I had was AAA maps. That's all it was. And so now we've got Strava, Training Peaks, Garmin, all these different technologies. And I know you have really done the deep dive on this and you've really figured out a nice way to figure out good routes. And I'm a bit jealous of what you did this summer. You've had some fantastic rides.
So I'll just give everyone a little bit of a background. So I'm not the creature of habit like John is. I don't actually really enjoy riding the same routes over and over again. I lose my mojo, I guess, as it is. So for the last, 7 or 8 years, I've been doing training camps where I literally just pack the car up, a couple bikes and go down. Mostly it's been to Southern California. And I started going to the Irvine area, and then I kind of branched out from there. And I would do it 2 or 3 times a year, usually once at spring break, once at Christmas break, and once in the summer to kind of get away from the heat. And so when I started doing these things, I started realizing how difficult it could be to find good places to ride and to run and to swim. I mean, honestly, I'm trying to do all 3 things. And, finding what time the pools are open for lap swim or even open water. Like, where is it safe to go open water swimming? Which lakes can you use? Down in San Diego, for example, there's some unbelievable reservoirs, but they don't allow you to swim.
No. Yeah.
But then you go up further north and there's some reservoirs you can swim, but they're 56 degrees maybe. And so all of these little pieces, and it was really, it was taking up a lot of my mental energy when I was doing these things. And so I started, building routes and doing different things. And before I would go. Now this summer, my wife and I were on the adventure of a lifetime. We were supposed to actually go to Europe for a month for basically the end of May through June, and that didn't work out. And so we decided we're going to go to California for a week. We're going to go down to San Diego for a week. And of course I bring my bike and she brings her bike. And well, 1 week turned into 10 weeks. We were gone for 10 weeks and we traveled all the way up the coast. The farthest north I made it was Mount St. Helens. And we were staying like a week at every different place. And basically most of the places I hadn't been to, or I'd been to a few of them, not really riding, maybe I would run there. And so in some places literally never been before. And but I honestly I think this time was some of the most success I've had at doing this and building routes and finding good places to ride, run, and swim. So I thought I'd start out with just a few of the websites that I used to kind of give me some background. And the first one I'm going to share with you, and I got to share my screen here. Oh, you've actually disabled me.
Yeah, let me, I'll participate. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so share, and I can share application. So the first one I'm going to share with you is the one that I use probably the most. And that was called Jay's Essential Rides.
Okay.
And I think, can you see that now?
Yep.
No, I can't see it. There it is. So this is called Jay's Essential Bike Rides. I don't know Jay. I have no affiliation with him whatsoever. And this is rides that he's collected in California and in Oregon only. And I can start over showing this locator map. And I love how he did this. So basically, each one of these little dots is a ride that he has basically approved that it's a good ride. He's got some rules, like he doesn't ride on highways. He doesn't ride if it's traffic. There's a few little exceptions. He does, when you click on a ride, which we'll do, he actually kind of breaks it down pretty well for you.
Okay, so hold on 1 second though.
Yeah.
We're getting a little bit of technical problem here. I'm only seeing this narrow vertical bar.
Oh, okay.
And is it oh, there we go.
Okay.
Okay, now we're good.
I'm glad
now I see the dots. Perfect.
Okay, so you see all the dots on the map?
Yep.
So I'll give you an example where I started out. So actually, I'll just give you an example. Maybe we can pick one I haven't ridden. So this is kind of the closest one to Las Vegas. So if I click on this one, this is called Kings Canyon. And then you can click on it and then you go into it and he writes all about it. So he, basically starts, verbalizing it, but then he gives you a map as well. And then along the way, he gives you some pictures, and then the description is like what the surface is like, what the climb is like. This one, for example, drop 8 miles and 2,400 feet through a best of best descent. And I just like it because you can kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like before you even get there. And just kind of goes on and on and on. And then he always usually gives you ways to either to shorten the ride if you can, or to add more miles to your ride as well.
Okay.
And so if you go up this right-hand side, these are all of the routes.
Oh, wow.
That he has. And I'll give you another example of one I did. So I did Mount Diablo. You may or may not know of it. It's probably one of the most famous climbs in the San Francisco area. It's been on the Tour of California several times. But once again, it's just another ride with a map associated with it, profile, and then once again, just gives you lots of, verbalizes exactly what you're in for the day. And from this, this is on Map My Fitness. I don't use Map My Fitness, but what I do from this is I transfer this over into Strava routes, which I'll show you how I do that as well. So this is just one example, and once again, it only did California and Oregon, because that's kind of, I think, where he's from. But if you start looking and you start driving up the coast, you can see there's many, many good rides.
That's great.
And honestly, he did not steer me wrong one time.
Wow.
Like what he said was accurate. Another cool thing is he'd say, okay, you know, there's only water at this one spot. So if you're 40 miles in, you got to look for this place. That's where you can get water, or this is where you can get a snack or whatever. So there's a lot of good information. I would love to produce something like this for Southern Nevada, which was clickable like this. And we've talked about potentially doing that with the triathlon club. Then you can actually break this down. Like there's even the best of the best, which is these are the best rides overall, top 10, best descents, hardest climbs. And I have to tell you, some of these hardest climbs are unbelievable. I did one that was, it got up to 21% grade.
Oh, 20, yeah, that's steep.
I tell you what, that's steep. And I was like, oh, it can't be 21%. It really was. Then there's also ones that have great views. So, I mean, really nice website, especially if you're going to go down to California or Oregon. Great, great website. So that's the first one I wanted to share with you.
All right, that's great.
I'm going to share another one with you. And let me just stop this one. Share this one. Okay, can you see this one now with New York City?
Yes.
Okay, so this one's called PJam. This one is all about finding the best climb.
That's in the Shawinigan, I believe.
Is it really?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I have no idea what the Shawanigans are.
That's a mountain range just west of the city.
Yeah, it says Bear Mountain, New York.
Oh, okay. Maybe that I'll have to double check that.
Okay, so this one I love too, because this is all about the hardest climbs in the world.
Oh.
And finding that, and some of them are not that hard because they'll break it down by state as well. So on the right here, you can actually type in, like for example, Nevada, USA. And what this does, it gives you now, this is the top 10 bike climbs in Nevada.
Okay.
Okay, so the toughest climb in Nevada is actually Lee Canyon. And you can click on Lee Canyon, number 1. And it's very similar, but this one actually gives you a link to the Strava. This actually tells us this is the for those of you that don't know, Lee Canyon is the 22nd hardest climb in the country. Okay. And it goes based off of the gradient times times the length. So this one is 17 miles at 6%.
Okay.
Grade. And I really kind of like this as well because it also gives you the map, gives you the gradient as you go up. And it's very, very accurate. Gives you like local weather. And then there's also a climb summary, kind of like that last site. Okay, so usually they'll have pictures and a little bit of a description. Some of the descriptions are better than others. Some don't have descriptions. And once again, I was using this because I was trying to do that Everest challenge. So I was looking for these great climbs as well. But when you start looking at, for example, this was like the top 12 climbs in Nevada, you actually, there's not, I can't, like the 12th biggest climb is not that big.
Okay. And
even when I was doing Oregon, like the top 12 climbs in Oregon or top 10 climbs in Oregon, they weren't that tough. Like, especially if it's just a longer climb with not that steep of grade. Mm-hmm. They weren't that hard. So this is called, once again, PJam with 2 M's cycling.com. But I was using this as well. Okay. I was trying to, find some of the toughest climbs to do. And I'd build my routes with some of this, some of these in mind. And sometimes I'd look at this versus the Jay's Essential Ride and could build it that way. Because I don't know, I'm the kind of person, I like to do climbs. I really enjoy going up a long, steady climb. That's kind of one of the things that I like to do.
So just curious, when you do a climb like that, do you also go back down, or do you have someone pick you up at the top? Do you care about it?
No, I usually, well, not always, but because I can't say I've never been picked up at the top, but I usually go down.
Oh.
Yep. And some of the thing is normally they talk about the descent as well. And they'll say, it's a really technical descent. It's this, you have to watch out for this. The thing with this one, different than the J's is more about better surfaces of road. This is just about the hardest.
Okay.
The hardest ones. But once again, the hardest ones are not necessarily that hard, because I think everyone would say, well, Lee Canyon, a lot of people have ridden up Lee Canyon here. And actually Kyle Canyon, I think, is this one. Where's Kyle? Kyle Canyon is, which many of us have ridden up, is like the 49th hardest in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that it's that hard, because it's only 4.7% grade, right? It's more that it's just long. So once again, these are just a couple of the sites that I use to find rides.
Okay.
Okay, so then what I would do is, I think I have to stop sharing. Do you know if I can open up multiple? New share. Yeah, I can. Yeah, if I go to new share. Okay. Strava rides. Okay. So I think now you can see my Strava page,
yep.
Correct?
There you go.
Okay, so these are all my Strava routes that I've ever built. And this, if we go from, oh man, these are all this trip. I have 189 Strava routes I've built.
Okay, so you entered these. These aren't, I know you rode them, but before you rode them, you entered.
I built them before I rode them.
Okay, so which tab is that in? I've got my Strava open.
Okay, so under dashboard, my routes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Then you can say cycling or running, and then create new route. Okay. And this is where I'm kind of excited to show you guys this how this works and how the functionality works here. So, and how, you know, basically how to do it, but how to do it and do it in a way that you get a good ride out of it. So you can find a site like PJam, and then you can just link it directly from Strava.
Oh, okay.
I don't necessarily like that. I like to build my own, because if I'm staying at a hotel somewhere or an Airbnb somewhere, it's not going to be at the base of their ride.
Right.
Right. So I have to ride there. So let's say we were coming to Las Vegas, and we wanted to, I don't know, go to Kyle Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
How would I go about doing that? So what Strava has done now is they've actually overlaid a heat map. So when you start to look at this, so if we look at just the northwest of Las Vegas here, the thicker the blue, the more people have ridden it.
Okay.
So that gives you a good indicator that that's a good place to ride.
Got it.
That's one way to do this. Okay. So if you can build out just based off of that. So let's say, this is actually my little secret. When I go to Kyle Canyon, I always park right here. So you start your route there. Now you can do something very simple where you can say, I want to go up Kyle Canyon. I'm going to go to the top. And all you got to do is, if you know where the top is, which is at Cathedral Rock here, I just put the start and I put the finish, and it automatically will build it for me.
Oh.
Based off of where most people would ride. So this is based off of popular. So see on the left says follow most popular.
Okay.
The other thing I always do is I look at the surface. And they just started doing this, where you could say preferred paved surfaces. So because that was another problem. It used to be I'd build these routes and I'd end up on a dirt road. And which would be fine if I wasn't on a time trial bike, you know, with thin little tires on it.
Yeah, right.
There's also ways you can say, you know, minimize the elevation, maximize the elevation. I usually just put any elevation. The other cool thing is you can actually add in the segments. So if you like to do segment hunting, it's going to take a minute for me to get the segments out, but the segments will eventually come up here. So there's a segment there, there's a segment here. So I can actually start to look at the segments.
Oh, okay.
And I really like that, because now if I'm building my route, I can say, okay, let's look at this segment, one of the details of that segment. And one of the keys is to look at how many people have done it. Right. So now I just go, oh, there's been 1,091 people have done this segment. So it's obviously pretty popular, right? If you come up to one and it says on the route you're building and it says 30 people have ridden it, it's probably not where you want to be. Right. Or it's a dirt trail, and I've actually noticed mountain biking, there tends to be a lot less people that have ridden it. But on the road nowadays, if it's less than like 400 or 500 people, I probably wouldn't ride it.
Okay.
Because it's just, you got to figure the locals, if they're not doing it, it's not good.
Yeah.
Right. So let's go back to this. So if I'm on my route here, and then of course I want to go back home or back to where I came from, I just click the next thing and I can say, okay, I'm going to come back down to here, and it automatically built back down. Okay. Now here's what it did though. So those of you that know the area, it actually sent me a way I wouldn't necessarily want to go, which is good because it works out well for this. Because I wouldn't want to go like through this light here, through this light here, through this light here, through this light here. I just happen to know that. So then you can actually grab the side and move it.
Ah.
And then it repopulates.
Okay.
And then actually I'm going to finish there. And the nice thing is at the bottom here, it's going to give me, say, okay, it was 46 miles, 5,000 feet of elevation. It gives me my estimated moving time. And the truth is, over time, I think it learns because it's actually pretty accurate to your estimated moving time. And then you can click over here on the right hand corner and you can actually get your plot of your elevation as well. Okay. Now from here, the question is, how do you get it to your Garmin? Or how do you get it to your Wahoo or whatever you use? So we're going to save this route. And we'll just call it Kyle 1. Okay. And you can save it as public or private. I always save mine as public because I don't really care. Save to my route. Now, if I go to here and you see this star here? If the star is orange, it means it'll sync to your Garmin.
Oh, okay.
If it's not orange, if it's like that, it won't. So what I did from there is I created a little video to show you what it looks like to get it off my Garmin. But before I do that, actually, I got to share another thing with you. So let's stop that one for a second and share syncing routes. Okay. So on Garmin's last couple updates, they've changed how they do this. So this is from Strava support, syncing Strava routes to your Garmin device. So this is just basically how you do it if you're using Garmin.
Okay.
So you've got to go in and turn on a few things. Basically, it's actually in, so you got to go to your Garmin Connect website, make sure these things are turned on. Then go to the Garmin Connect mobile app, make sure enable course permissions is on. And then from there, you'll be able to do it. But you have to basically set it up ahead of time.
Okay.
And because this ends up being one of the big keys for me when I'm riding is on my Garmin, I actually will have a map. It's a turn-by-turn map.
Nice.
Of where I'm going. And that's super, super important, right? Like the last thing you want to be doing is stop, look at your phone, go onto Google Maps or whatever. Nobody really likes to, at least I don't think likes to do that.
So this is going to your head unit on your bike, not your watch.
I can send it to my watch as well.
You can go to your watch. Okay. And
so my runs, I send to my watch.
Okay.
And you do the same procedure.
Okay. Now I got a question on Facebook and I think I know the answer to it. This is the paid version of Strava, right?
This unfortunately is the paid version.
Okay.
So, and I know that there's people up in arms about if you should pay for Strava or not. But if you're going to be traveling and want to build routes, and honestly, even before I do an Ironman or a triathlon, I build the route in here. I get the elevation profiles. You can build it. You can build that exact route. We talked about it in Course Recon when we did that. I always build the route, and then I can see where all the elevation is.
Yep.
And then I put it on my head unit, and then I drive the course ahead of time. It gives me turn by turn. So for me, it's absolutely worth it, but that's me. I understand that not everyone wants to pay. I don't know how much it is, like $60 a year.
It's something around that. So,
okay. So I'm going to share another thing with you. So now I just took a video of this right before we left, or right before we started. And can you see my head unit?
Yep.
Okay. So I just want to show you how easy it is once it's linked to actually get to ride your route. So everyone kind of knows that screen if they use a Garmin. Go to navigation, courses, and here are all the courses I have that are on there, that are basically anyone that starred. And just go to summary, give you an idea of what's there. Make sure it's the right one. And then you can have a map. Once again, kind of give you an overview of where you're going. That's the big map.
Hold on, now it's not playing though.
Oh, it's not.
No. It's beeping. I can hear it beeping, but the video's not playing. Okay,
right.
Wait, there we go.
Sorry, we'll try again.
Okay.
Thanks for telling me.
Okay, no, there we go. Now it's
okay. So navigation, courses, course option.
Sorry, which Garmin unit is this?
This is a 530, so it's about 3 years old. So it's not like it's not the newest one. And you could do it on a 520 as well, because I was doing it on 520. Okay. Oh, it has to be connected to your phone, to your Garmin Connect at some point to download back and forth. So whenever it syncs, it'll download these.
Okay.
Yeah. So I could just press ride there, but I like to just kind of have a quick summary, make sure I'm on the right spot, make sure everything's good. I think it's 66 miles. And then I always like to have a quick look at the map too, just to make sure.
Double check.
Yeah. And this is like a big version of the map. When you actually start riding it, you get a really tight version of the map.
Yeah.
And then asked, do you want to navigate to the beginning of the course? And I just said no and turned it off from there.
Okay.
So just to show how easy it is, and it's the same thing on my watch that I do for the running routes. And I basically do this exact same thing for the running routes.
Nice. Yeah, I've got a Wahoo Element computer that has map, and I think it has turn by turn. I'll have to try that.
Yeah, and I was reading about it, and they said the Wahoos may even be easier.
Okay.
But the thing is, you got to set it up, and you got to link them.
Okay.
Like that's the first thing to know.
I can see the value of doing course recon this way for sure. Now, I was just messing with the route builder a little bit. If you come to a road that you can't ride on, does Strava let you build the route through it?
Yes.
Okay, you just have to force it. Okay.
Yeah. So actually, I'll show you that.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah, because I
go back to my routes. The other thing is that you can edit these afterwards.
Okay.
So if we're back on the Kyle Canyon here,
yep,
I can go into edit and read just kind of where I left off.
All right, you're not sharing right now, but I know what you're.
Okay, so sorry about that.
That's right.
So share.
Oh, this is I'm on Strava now, trying to build a route, and this is really slick.
Okay, so now can you see it?
Yep.
Okay, so let's say I want to go from here over to Lee Canyon. So let's move that. So now you start to see, okay, you see here how it's all dotted?
Yep.
That means that this is the way that most people would go, because a lot of mountain bikers went that way. But the dotted tells me that it's a gravel road or a dirt road. Okay.
Yeah.
So now
so you got to move it up. Okay.
Or you see it says any surface type.
Yep.
I can switch to preferred paved surfaces.
Ah.
And now it goes to the paved.
Ah, nice.
Right. But we also know that I can't ride up here.
No.
This is where the road ends. I just put it. So if I go to there we go. So it unfortunately kind of it defaults to the quickest possible way, or sorry, the way that most people went. Yep. And you can actually see that's a pretty popular mountain bike route.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the one thing you got to be careful of is especially on your road bike, is making sure you're not on a mountain bike route. The one other thing I can tell you is when you look at something that looks like this, it's always a mountain bike route. Or if it's all wiggly.
Yep. Oh, right.
Like, that's probably not a road.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I keep thinking river there, but that's the heat map part of Strava.
Exactly. That's exactly what that is.
Okay. Nice.
Okay. So now you asked me about, like, if let's say this actually happens sometimes, is it sends you through a gated community or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
That does happen. It's only happened to me once or twice. I've actually had to kind of sneak in a few gated communities, like follow a car in or whatever.
Right.
But usually it doesn't happen because those aren't the most popular. Those aren't the most popular routes.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, like I said, you could do this. You could do this for running as well. You can even do this for swimming.
Yep.
If there's an area that a lot of people swam in. So let me
Oh,
share.
outdoors. Okay.
Yeah, outdoors.
Got it.
So once again, you could basically, but there's a different way to do it. And I want to kind of show you another way to approach this. So let's say you're in an area that it doesn't have that like Jay's Essential thing, or the PJam doesn't have anywhere that's got lots of climbs. The other thing that I do is I'm kind of like a Strava stalker. And so I was going to show you kind of how I stalked somebody in California.
Okay.
And just to give you an example of a good way to kind of build. So I'm going to go back out of everything just to my Strava dashboard. And you go to Segment Explore. And I was in this little town called Ukiah, California. So this little town was super cool, by the way. If you ever have the chance, this lake is unbelievable to swim in. And then there's another lake up here that was just breathtaking swimming. So anyways, when we got here, we were just staying at a little Airbnb, and I was like, okay, I need to set up some running routes. So all I did was I went to running here and started looking at the segments. So I was actually, we're staying in, basically in the center of this town. So what I did is I started looking around and like, okay, well, what's a decent looking segment? And this was actually the one that I found that was kind of the most decent because I had a little bit of a climb and a little bit of a distance. So I clicked on it and said, view details. You can see this, right?
Yep.
And then what I did, there wasn't too many people that had run it. Oh, I'm third now on it. But what I did is I started looking at the people.
Ah.
Right. So I was like, okay, who are some of the best people in town? Right. And I'm like, all right, went down the whole list. And actually the person that this is the person I ended up stalking. He's now my Strava friend, by the way.
Oh, nice.
It's super cool. I stalked him, and we ended up going because he was swimming at a lake, and we ended up going to swim at that lake, and he was there.
Oh.
And so then we started talking, and we ended up riding once together. So anyways, this is my new Strava friend.
Nice.
And so what I did is I started looking at his activities. And so we were there around middle of June. And so I said, okay, well, like this looks like a cool activity, right? He went 100 miles. This guy's a pretty good, athlete, right? And I looked at this one. I'm like, okay, he rode another, big ride here. And then I started to see these swims.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, okay, like, let's click on that and see where he actually is.
So you had to friend him first or follow him first?
No, because he was public.
Okay.
So I didn't have to. So you can look at, okay, where is this little lake he was at? Well, it turns out this little lake was called Blue Lake, and we ended up swimming. I actually swam with him there. This pretty much this exact same route, just kind of back and forth. It was a great little route. But what this did for me is I could look at basically everything he did and has done in his hometown. Right. So you can actually break this down by months, which is actually a good way to do it too. So I can pick out a big month of his, and once again, just start looking at his rides. So this was one of the rides that he did the most. So then my second day there, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this ride. Right. And so all I did is I could actually download his GPX file, and then I could actually build a route off of that, or you can create a route off of it.
Yeah.
So I could click on that and it'll go to create route, and I can actually adapt it as well. And so I'm basically stealing his rides. But what I don't get from this is like the quality of the road.
Yeah, right.
Right. But I kind of figure this guy, there's a small town. This guy's the only guy that I could find that was riding all of the time, like almost every other day, and doing bigger rides. And I could figure out he was a triathlete because I could see his swims as well. I could see his runs. And that really kind of gave me a sense of, okay, this is a good person for me to kind of look at what he's doing.
Yeah.
And so that was just another way and it's once again by using Strava and using the segments and looking at, and just basically stalking people and what they do. Like I fully expect if someone was to come to Las Vegas and knew what they were doing, they could look at what I'm doing and be like, okay, yeah, he lives here. He probably rides the places that I'd like to ride.
Right.
It's the same with you, John. Like I see your boring Strava page where you go the same rides all the time. But I'm like, if I wanted to go down and maybe do an Airbnb in Henderson for the week, maybe I would follow your rides.
I can tell you where every bump is, and
exactly. So that's just another way to do this. And honestly, like we actually swam this lake right here is where we met him.
Okay.
And it's like, you see two guys in wetsuits swimming across a lake. When they get out of the lake, you have a conversation with them.
Right.
And it was funny because I'd already started stalking him before then.
Oh, how funny.
Well, because that's how I knew where to go to swim.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, that's just another little piece of ultimately how to put something like this together. And once again, it takes a little bit of effort and takes some time, but you can do it. So now the next step I was going to tell you about was how you can determine, other than just pure numbers, if it's going to be a good road for you. Because sometimes you can't, like you're staying someplace and you want to link to another place.
Yep.
And so what I do is I actually use Google Maps. And so you go to Google Maps. And the tricky thing is that Street View does not necessarily work on some of these smaller. We'll go to that same town. Okay, so now this was that road that he rode on.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I can look at this in satellite view. And of course you can get in pretty tight. How do I get in tighter? Oh, I'm doing it wrong. I'm doing a scrolling instead of, sorry.
That's right.
Yeah, like this.
No, that's a good idea to do Street View if they have it on.
You can get in pretty close, right?
Yeah, right.
So now I can see, there's at least a white line here. So there's probably a little bit of a shoulder. The other little trick that I learned, and someone else told me this, is follow a road for a while and see if you see any cars on it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And I mean, we're following this. There's no cars.
Right.
And the truth of the matter is, this was a pretty good climb. It's like a half-hour climb. I think I saw 2 cars.
Yeah.
Right. And then you can see, like, you can't necessarily see how, if the surface is great or not.
Yeah.
It gives you, I know for sure it's paved. So that's another little trick. Whereas if you go to another, I'll actually go out a little bit and show you, there's a big highway. That's not too far from here, which no one rides on. It's the 101. Click on that. And we start to see car, right? So you kind of have an idea that I might not want to ride on that road, even though it has a big shoulder.
Yeah.
Right. And actually, you can start to even see the surface.
Yeah.
But that's another little trick. And then there's Street View too.
Yeah.
But a lot of the smaller places where you want to ride don't have Street View.
I'm not gonna have that. Okay.
Some do. So you can, once again, you can go to Street View. And I've done this a few times as well. So you can actually see like what the street looks like. And you can actually then even start to see surface. You can actually go down the street. So that's another piece. It depends on how much time you have and effort you have.
Yeah.
To actually, do you want to go down that route? But that's just another piece that I've used.
So you're doing this all from your laptop, obviously.
Yep.
And do you ever need to do some of this through your phone, or is that pretty much don't try this on the phone?
I have an old for the small iPhone. I have a Relic. It's really hard, even on an iPad. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
It's just the sensitivity of it, especially the building the route. It's really, really hard. I will tell you that Strava does have this cool feature now on their phone app. And it's probably a premium thing too. They have a route builder that's on the phone. Is actually pretty good in that you just put your finger on it and you can say, I'm going to start here and I want to end here and I want to go about this direction, and it'll build a route for you.
Oh, wow.
I've done that before when, for example, there was a time it was in San Diego, and there was literally this huge gully I couldn't get across. It was a gated neighborhood, and I didn't come across, and it was going to be 20 miles around on either side.
Okay.
So then I was like, okay, let's get on my phone. And I built a quick route, and then you can sync it automatically to your head unit.
Oh,
so
wow.
you can do it on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not as intricate. The other thing I will tell you is, like, I often, after I build a route, will go in. Actually, let's look at another route. And I'm going to show you one other little thing I do. Let's go, this one. Okay, so let's edit this.
Well, I can see this already being extremely helpful.
Oh,
this
was a Jay's Essential Ride, and I basically followed it exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But what you can do, and what I really like to do is really get into, like, okay, you know what if, like, I was going to go this way. What if I just want to go, for example, I want to go that way.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, it automatically just builds for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or, I want to go this way instead.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it does this out and back.
Yeah. So it's okay.
So then you gotta move another piece,
right?
And then another piece. But you actually end up getting a good hang of it. And when you do that, like, if you build a really nice big route and you're looking at it, you're like, you know what? I see a park. I do this all the time. I see a park here. They might have water.
Yeah,
right. So then sometimes I'll, like, purposely slide over
Yep.
and, like, just go by a park,
mm-hmm.
even though it wasn't on my route.
Yep.
And just because there probably will be water, maybe a bathroom,
water.
Exactly. So I do little things like that. So I like to go in after I build it and really kind of zoom in.
Yep.
And really kind of get to, like, street level view of where I want to be. And on this one too, you can change it to satellite on this one as well.
Yep. Okay.
And then you can turn that heat map off too. So then you can,
okay,
you can really see where you're going. This one was super cool, by the way, because I didn't realize it at the time, but this is a freeway tunnel that goes through the mountain, and you ride over it.
Okay.
But you don't even know you're riding over this freeway tunnel.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. And then this was called Tunnel Road. And I'm like, I should have figured it out.
Well, now I know how many times you get a name of something, you don't put it together until later. Okay. Now I want to put you on the spot.
Put me on the spot.
All right. So going to Logan, Utah.
Yes.
And I have not taken my bike there before. I'm going to take it, and I need a route.
Okay. So let's do that. Let's go to create a new route. So you can do it with me. So
okay.
We'll show mine.
Strava.
You want. So Logan, Utah.
My routes.
Okay. So first question is are you staying basically in, like, downtown Logan, or where are you staying?
Yeah, I think we're right near University of Utah State University.
I think that is, I've only ever been there once, but okay, let's just say we're starting right in, like, downtown.
Yep.
Okay. So now the first thing that I would say, I would look to PJAM first. So let's go to PJAM. And I assume you're not seeing my PJAM right now.
No, not yet.
Okay, so I gotta share this one.
Well, there looks like there's some popular routes there.
Yeah. Well, let's find some climbs for you.
Okay.
So we're going to search, and Utah.
Oh, but these may be mountain bike trails.
That's the problem, right?
Yeah.
So what we can do when we look at, I just looked for the hardest mountain climbs in Utah. The problem is that I don't know where all of them are. Oh, there it is. There's a map. You see the map?
Yep. And, there's
So there's one there's one in Logan.
okay.
Bear Lake Summit West.
Bear Lake Summit.
So let's view the climb page.
All right.
All the cycling data you need. Okay, it's not even ranked in the top 100 in the country, so it's not going to be too bad. It's only 2% grade,
What?
but for 30 miles.
All
That's
right.
actually a pretty good, and there's obviously some 8% because there's a picture.
Yep.
Okay, so actually that looks like a nice route. So you're going to go on Highway 89. Okay, so I'm going to have that on one side, and then I'm going to build on the other. So let's go to, are you seeing both or just the one now?
Just seeing I'm seeing J's.
Okay.
Oh no, PJs. Yeah, now I'm seeing.
So I moved it.
Okay.
So it looked like it went here up this way.
Oh, there's Bear Lake. Okay, I had to zoom out more. All right.
It was 30 miles.
Yeah.
I'm actually clicking back and forth. So it looks like it came all the way to there. So that looks like that's what the ride was on. Let's get in here a little bit further. It's saying this is a dirt road, but I don't think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. Sometimes if it's not reported,
Yeah.
it may have actually went to this one. Yeah, that's the road. That was a dirt road. And even here where it's saying this is dirt, this is Highway 89. There's no way that's.
Yeah, no, that's gonna be
So that's like, to get to there, you're looking at 33 miles. And if it were me, I'd ride all the way to the lake because
Garden City there.
I'd ride to Garden City and probably be able to get a snack or whatever. So that's 40 miles with almost 4,000 feet of climbing. Yeah. I'm thinking if you were to go all the way back, that's 77 miles with 6,000 feet of climbing.
Yeah, and that's saying estimated moving time 2:26 for 40 miles. So that's not bad.
Yep.
All right. All right. So I'm seeing the clear, it says 64% not specified route. So, but it's got to be paved.
That one has to be paved.
All right. But that's where I can go into Google Maps and double check and see what the roads look like.
Exactly. And I would look, I would have a quick look on Google Maps to see. But since it's a highway, I bet it's going to be pretty good. Yeah. And we can also, if we take this away again, you can see, especially coming out of Logan, that's a pretty popular route because it's pretty dark. It's pretty dark.
Yeah.
But yeah, in here, it's not that dark. So then I would also show the segments. Mm-hmm. And then that can give you a little bit of a hint.
Okay.
As well. So there's no segments through there. Yeah, I might not want to do that one.
No.
Well, because I would want to look at, like I said, a segment on that road to see how many people have ridden it. And since there's no segments, it might not be. It actually might be a good climb, but not a good ride. Let's see what they write about it.
Well,
see, that's the thing. Like, you got to be willing to say, you know what?
Yeah.
Maybe that's not the road for me. But the picture here looks like there's a good. When I'm looking on PJAM, it looks like a good shoulder. So yeah, I would go. What does it look like on Google Maps?
On the segments, how do some of these must be mountain bike then?
Yes.
Is there a way to turn off mountain bike?
No. Wow. That's a thing. You cannot turn that off. Mm-hmm. And having not been up that way, I would still say, you know what? It's a highway. If it's got a shoulder on Google, I probably would ride it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's probably a lot of traffic between like Logan and Garden City. Mm-hmm. There's
Right.
also this other route that goes south that looks like it could be decent.
I'm on Google Maps looking at 89 now. And that looks, oh, yeah, but I'm seeing cars.
Yeah, see, that's the other thing, right? You want
Yeah.
to look at that. The tricky thing in there is it doesn't seem like there's a lot of really good, if you want to climb, like I always want to climb.
Yep.
But there's also looks like maybe a decent route to go north, like and actually ride into Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
And I always like, for me, I always like riding to another state. I think it's cool.
Yep.
So let's build out one that we just kind of follow how. And sometimes I do this where I just kind of look at where I would go.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was starting in center of Logan, I wouldn't want to go down like a main highway in the town.
Mm-hmm.
But I might, for example, I might go up here and then kind of skirt the edge of town. And I'll correct these things afterwards. And then maybe I'd look at like this little white horse climb. Look at the details on this climb. So 909 people have been up that one. Okay. So it's probably a good little climb.
Mm-hmm.
So I might say, well, I'll go up that climb. Oh, there. Oh, I missed it. To there. And it is, yeah, it's coming up, it's paved. Probably only paved to there. Normally if it's a dark blue and then goes to a light blue really quickly, that means it's going from paved to not paved.
Okay.
So you go to the end of the paved, and then I might come back down and then, get on this road here. Even though it's probably a highway, it's a country highway.
Right.
Maybe you go up to like Franklin.
Oh yeah. Okay. So
go to another town.
Mm-hmm.
I like the little towns like that because you can usually get water or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's ultimately how I would approach it.
Right.
And honestly, it depends on how much adventure you have in you and how much you want to climb. But you're right. Like Highway 89 might not be the one because there might be too much traffic.
Yeah. Well, but this is what I need to do is just sit here and play around and look at it. And
yep. And then, there looks like it might be a little good route here too. So if you go this way and around this way, these things get big. That's the problem, John. I'm going to tell you, they look really small when you're building your route. And then you start riding and you're like, oh man, like that's 100 miles.
Yeah.
It's really amazing when you see it on your screen, and
right.
then you actually get out and you're halfway and you're like, oh my gosh, that's a long way.
I guess we could ride to Salt Lake too, or to the Great Salt Lake.
Yep. The highway there is this. I think you come up through Bingham City.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty busy highway though.
Yeah. Okay.
There is some. I know that there's some routes that I've done that are the other way. So once again, if you go south from Logan,
yep,
and you get into like this area here,
yep.
It looks like it might be gravel. I thought it was not gravel there, but I'm not too sure if it's gravel or not there.
Well, we're almost in Ogden, which was my infamous crash.
Oh, don't go there then.
Well, maybe I need to go back and do it again.
Exactly.
That might be what I need to do.
And the other thing I will tell you is that I am not somebody that has to say, you know what, I'm staying here. I'm only going to ride here.
Yep.
If there's a great ride that's within like an hour drive,
mm-hmm.
I'll drive the hour.
Drive it. Yeah.
Especially if it's going to be like a highway. Like I think I told you, I rode Mount St. Helens. It was an hour and a half ride to get to the base of where I wanted to
mm-hmm.
drive, but it was so worth it. It was 4 mm-hmm. of the most spectacular hours I've ever been on my bike.
Mm-hmm.
So totally worth the effort to potentially get to a good ride.
That's awesome.
And I probably did that 4 or 5 times when I was on my trip. Well, probably more than that. And of course, my wonderful, wonderful wife, many times I would be like, okay, I'm going to ride from here to here, and then you can meet me. And then, my wife was, when we were on our little trip, she was working full time. So I'd finish off riding at like 5 o'clock somewhere. And I'm like, okay, meet me at 5 o'clock at this place. And then we'd go have dinner somewhere.
That's right. That's awesome.
You know,
That's great.
So it's nice to have somebody pick you up.
Yeah. Well, Ted, this is really impressive and doable.
Yeah.
And I can see that I'll start playing around with it, and maybe I'll do a couple different rides during the week that I don't normally do. So we'll see.
Yeah, and honestly, I will tell you this honestly. And Marie, my wife, she told me you have to say this. There has been several times. Here's my Garmin. There's been several times when I've been really frustrated with it because something doesn't work. The Bluetooth's off, or it needs it has to do a software update or whatever. I'm just telling you, you have to also know that this is not always going to work.
Yeah. So have your phone with you.
So my backup is my phone.
Yep.
All of the Strava routes are also, if you have the Strava app on your phone.
Yeah, you can.
They're always there.
Okay.
So that's the backup, and I will tell you that it's a little bit of a hidden spot. So that's the last thing I want to show everybody. So on the Strava app, it's not intuitive of where your routes are, and that's why I was gonna tell you this.
Yeah.
So on my Strava app.
Okay, wait. Stop sharing first.
Oh, I'm sharing. Yeah.
Oh, I can do that. Okay, I got it. Okay, go ahead. Do it again.
So I don't know if you can see that or not. It looks pretty white.
Not yet. Sometimes it takes a second to. Oh, okay. Oh, almost there.
Well, anyways, I'll just talk you through it. So on the bottom, you have 5 buttons: feed, explore, record, profile, and training. It's under profile, like your personal profile. And then you scroll down, and then you'll come up to segments and routes.
Okay, I'm looking. I've got personal profile.
Scroll all the way down.
That's gear, segments and routes. Yep. Oh, yeah.
Click on your routes, and that's where your routes are. And you can use the route from here as well. There's a button that says use route.
Oh, okay.
And it'll do it this way as well. I don't like it because then I got to be pulling my phone out of my pocket, and I don't use my phone, for example, as my head unit. I know some people do. But so if all else fails, you have this.
Do that. Okay.
And even I've been on a long ride. My Garmin ran out of power because I didn't charge it.
Yeah, right.
And this has been my backup. It's like, okay, I can find it that way. And then one other little trick I'm going to share with you. As long as you get your phone, I don't know about you, but I always have headphones on. I don't always listen to stuff. I usually listen to podcasts when I'm riding. You can do Google Maps and do a turn-by-turn that comes into your ear. I've done that several times when I'm like, something went wrong and I just want to get back home or to where I'm staying. And I just put in the address, and then it just, you get the voice activated guidance. It's a little annoying, and you can set it up that it tells you you're on a bike as well.
Right.
That's kind of like the last resort. And then the last resort is Uber.
Yeah.
Okay. One more plug for Strava. I should be getting paid for this. If you're Strava Premium, and you break down, there is basically an insurance program through Strava that they will pay for a taxi or an Uber.
Really?
Up to $40 if you're Strava Premium.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
And it doesn't count if you get a flat tire or something. There's some kind of deal with it, but basically you have to have got a flat, repaired it, and then get another flat.
Got it. Or
if you break a spoke or something like that, or your bike becomes inoperable, or if you crash.
Yeah.
There is it's under if you look at Strava benefits, it's in there, and all you have to do is basically document that you are using Strava.
Yeah.
And I read a few people, and they said they've gotten paid when they.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
So just another thing. So if you ever feel like, oh man, I am completely screwed here, I got nobody to call. Just do an Uber or a taxi. That's
great. Well, this has been really good. I'm going to play around with it, especially with going up to Logan, because I don't want to waste time looking for a route. Yeah. I want to get on my bike and I want to ride. Well,
you can build, that's the thing, is you could be building them now.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
And I got to be honest with you, it is a little bit stressful and does take some time but it's worth it to do the time, in my opinion, to do the time ahead of time.
Oh, totally.
it's way worth it to enjoy the ride.
Yep. Yeah.
Or the
No,
run.
I can see that because I'm not one to, to waste time. I want to, like I said, I want to get on my bike and I want to ride. I want to know where I'm going. And so I'm going to do this. I'm going to lay out some routes ahead of time.
I would actually say for you going to Logan, because I know there's a lot of triathletes up there,
Yep.
is I'd try stalking a few.
Yeah.
The other thing you can do if you really want to get crazy is you could go look at like the USAT ranking for last year for Utah.
Uh-huh.
And you can see hometowns of people.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And look at the top people from like that area. See if they're on Strava. There's so many ways you can use this technology. I mean, here's the thing: these companies are selling all of our data. We all know that, right?
I know, right.
So let's use it for our benefit as well.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, John. Well, we're over an hour, but that was awesome. Great. Thanks. I hope people got a lot out of it. I hope it wasn't too much of an advertisement for Strava.
No, that's all right. That's good. And this is much better than back in the 80s when I had to send away for U.S. Masters swimming location of pools and then try to find where those pools were or finding rivers or lakes to swim in and then just taking my chance on routes, to ride and run. And so this is great. Very informative. So thanks for that technical details and how to get more out of Strava, because those of us who are paying for it, we should be able to maximize the use of it.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Ted.
You're welcome. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, you too. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to stop live stream and